Good afternoon, Professor, and anyone else who might be watching this. It is April 4th, Saturday. Um, so I'm only able to screen share. I cannot get my webcam to work. I've tried a lot of things, updating the drivers, trying to activate my webcam, just cannot get it to work. Um, I am able to screen share on my phone, but I can't seem to record myself doing so. So the most practical way for me to be able to do this and be able to talk and be recorded is through my laptop. Um, just cannot be seen. So I hope that's not too much of an issue. I know the first part of this is to introduce yourself, make sure we can see you. Um, so I guess I can just describe myself. I'm Sean Evans. I'm the redhead from class. I'm pretty sure I'm the only redhead from class, so y'all should remember me pretty well. I am in my room, so what's going on in the background of my video is absolutely nothing. Just a few walls, I guess. So what I'm going to be talking about here is a portion from the chapter that has to do with memories. So in self-reports, this talks about the actually self-reports, how people will give an answer, but is it actually the correct answer, or is it the real reason why they're given that answer? And on the assignment, I had made a note saying that, I think this kind of thing is really interesting. And my mind wanders to how this affects eyewitness testimony, because an eyewitness testimony in the court of law is extremely valuable. It can make or break a case very easily. Um, and from a psychological perspective, humans aren't exactly the best at knowing why they give the answers they do or remembering what they think they remember. So what they mention in this part of the chapter, saying that such studies have shown that overall accuracy is very low. For example, years later, about 73% of students recalling their memories of the 9/11 attacks remembered seeing the first plane hit the World Trade Center on TV, when in fact no such footage was available at the time. Hashtag 2003. So I went into a little search for this. So in EBSCOhost, I started with things like memory accuracy, but I wasn't really getting anything that had the full text available. Also weren't exactly relevant at all to the court of law. So typed in eyewitness testimony reliability and came up with a few things. So what I decided to click on was this one: age and schematic differences in the reliability of eyewitness testimony. So the PDF, when I pulled it up, came to Microsoft Edge. So I have it here, and I even highlighted the parts of the article I wanted to be sure I talked about. So in here, what they did, they conducted 2 studies with the focus of, for my purposes, is study 2, where the subjects viewed videotapes of staged shoplifting. So they tested incidental memory a week after the event. All subjects' reports were more complete but less accurate for high and low probability of occurrence information. So that basically means that things that they expected to occur, their reports were more complete on, but were actually less accurate. Children's reports were as complete as, but less accurate than younger adults. Older adults' reports were less complete than, but as accurate as college students. The age differences were greatest for completeness of recall measures. So to get into all that more specifically, you're going to go all the way back down here to where the study starts. So their study involved a bunch of 10-year-olds, 5th graders, college age kids who are on average 20 years old, and then 65 to 70-year-olds, so 67 and a half years on average. The subjects were told they would be shown a videotape and that the experimenter was interested in their reactions to it. They were not informed at first that their memory would be tested. A color videotape cassette. I can tell you how dated this is. I think this is from the 80s, so a little dated, but the info is still interesting. Afterwards, they were instructed to take the envelope home and not look at it for a week. The 10-year-olds were told that the experimenter would return in a week to ask them about the shoplifting scenes. So what they have found is there was a high probability of occurrence information. The high probability of occurrence info was recognized more often than the low probability of occurrence information. That's based off what the different age groups expected to see and expected to have happen in a shoplifting incident. For as far as accuracy of memory goes, the Newman Cool's post hoc analyses of the means indicated that older adults' recall was less accurate than either fifth graders or college students, among whom it did not differ. Females actually recalled more information more accurately than males at every age level. So I guess that's interesting. If you're a prosecutor or a defendant, get yourself some female eyewitnesses, I guess. That's interesting. Under recognition, overall children were less accurate in recognition memory than either college students or older adults who did not differ from one another. So recognition memory, I had to look this up because there's a bunch of different memories like destination memory I saw in another article. So you just look up recognition memory definition. It has to do with the ability to recognize previously encountered events, which is, very important if in this case they're looking at videos, recollection of things you have seen before. That's where that kind of plays into account. So older adults remembered much less info about the younger actress than the college students or the fifth graders, which is interesting. However, recognition completeness was equivalent across all age groups for information relevant to the older actress. For recall, children and older adults provided less complete testimony than college students, but only older adults were less accurate than younger adults. For recognition scores, children gave reports that were as complete as younger adults, but they were less accurate in their accounts. In general, older adults' memory for information relevant to older actress was as good as, and in some cases better than younger adults' memory for both actresses. So this started to open up the suggestion that perhaps older adults demonstrated more accuracy for the older actress because it's more relevant to themselves. They relate to that person more. It's just something just clicks and it makes it easier for them to understand and remember what's going on there. They also noted at every age level, memory assessed under the recognition test instructions were more complete, although less accurate than memory assessed under recall test instructions. So recall test instructions, recognition test instructions, slight differences there. There's a graphic actually that they show here in reference to the number of correct responses to what actually occurred when comparing the younger actress to the older actress. So you see the older adults were much more accurate when it came to the older actress than anybody else, although they dragged behind with the other ones. And then at the end, so this is where it kind of implications for law come into play. So in conclusion, they have summarized that although children and older adults demonstrated shortcomings relative to the younger adults, age differences were not extremely large. The effects of schematic consistency and inconsistency were consistent across age levels. They also demonstrated that people's expectations of what might happen in a crime scene do influence what they remember about the crime. So one implication of these findings for legal testimony is that criminal justice officials and jurors may have more confidence in the accuracy of reports concerning unexpected information. Yet it should be recognized that accounts of such information are likely to be less complete than accounts of expected information. So that's sort of interesting. Furthermore, certain information in a crime may be more susceptible to changes as a result of post-event information than other types of information. So they even brought in some other studies that kind of explored that area. they mentioned that one of the most consistent findings in psych research on eyewitness testimony is the influence of leading questions or post-event information on memory. So that's problematic for eyewitness testimony when they might think a detail is different than what it actually is. It can kind of throw the entire credibility for them off balance. So that's kind of the rabbit hole I went down in as far as it comes to accuracy in surveys. Obviously, surveys don't have much to do with the court of law, but the fact that recollection and recognition of events differs between age groups is definitely, I think, relevant when you're trying to conduct surveys. Because your population does make a difference on the answers you're going to receive, especially if it has to do with memories, something like this that happened almost 2 decades ago now, especially. So that was the topic I wanted to talk about. Obviously, my presentation wasn't terribly interesting. All I did was screen share everything I was looking at. I hope I explained it well, not too sporadically. And so, yeah, I kind of enjoyed, even though it was a little tedious, going through and trying to find stuff. Research is always tedious. But since this is my field of interest going forward, I'm happy to refine my skills in finding relevant articles and information. And discussing these out loud is definitely more difficult than going through it in my head. So talking about these things out loud, I think definitely helps in the learning process to make ourselves more confident with the information that we're discussing. So I appreciate this assignment. I hope I met your expectations for it. And I hope you have a great day whenever it is you come across to viewing this. Take care, guys.